If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about the Wait.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live. As always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash that like button, share button, retweet button. And if you're over on the YouTube page, make sure you hit the subscribe button, thumbs up button. And hey, if you want to, turn the little bell. That bell tells you every time DSM Media goes live, so make sure you click that there. I am your host, Phil Stifle, at Bearded Knowledge. Make sure you shoot me a follow on Twitter. And I'm joined by my main man from DSM, Mr. Carter Hart. How you doing this morning?
The Phillies suck.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies do suck. DSM does not suck, but the Phillies do suck. And we are going to start Phillies talk today. And I got, I wasn't sure how I wanted to go about today's Phillies conversation because we've been talking the same thing over and over again for weeks now, the inconsistencies of the Phillies. And I'm like, how do I want to phrase the opening question, the opening, topic to get the ball rolling this morning? And all I can think of is Bryce Harper that important to this team? Is Bryce Harper as Joel Embiid is to the Sixers, to the Phillies? Because instantly, I mean, we're inconsistent. But Bryce Harper out of the lineup for the last 3 games, it's gotten 10 times worse. Is Bryce Harper that important to the Phillies? Start there with that.
Unless he's like a leader figure, which he probably is. I think that's their biggest problem. They don't have a leader at all when he's not there. Joe Girardi sucks. He's just flat awful. He is, for me, the root of all these problems right now. Yeah, I get it. They're not hitting well. But they don't look like they want to play at all. And when your biggest highlight of the day yesterday is Bryce Harper swapping a hat with a kid, you got issues. The pitching has been great over the last few weeks. And besides a couple games in LA, the hitting has been terrible. And that's the complete opposite of what we thought. We thought, the Phillies are going to score 6-7 runs a night, and the pitching is going to give up 6-7 runs a night. But it hasn't been that. The pitching's been really good, and the hitting hasn't been there. And it just doesn't make sense at all. Kyle Schwarber sucks, too.
Which is funny, is because like you say, so you mentioned like 9 different things there, all that I've been talking about, and like my exact feelings. Joe Girardi, we'll get back to him. But the hitting is obviously not there right now, and the pitching is. But guess what? In a week, the hitting might be there, but the pitching's just as inconsistent. So when that pitching comes or the hitting comes around, the pitching might just, fall apart. It's easy. I was going at it on Twitter yesterday because someone posted, about negative Philadelphia Phillies fans that, they are better than you think they are. They're 5th in hits, 6th in home runs, 8th in runs scored, 5th in OPS, and that's amongst all of Major League Baseball. So obviously the offense is ranking really high. But that means absolutely jack crack when you're 18 and 20. It doesn't matter where you're ranked, statistically speaking. If you can't win the games, if you score 10 runs 2 games, but then get shut out in the next 3, that's not good enough. And I think that's the problem. People see those few 10-run games and they see the stats, they fall in love with the stats. This team is you don't get shut out 2 out of 3 games. I saw something the other day, I think it was yesterday, so I don't know if yesterday's game counted. But in 38 games, we've been either shut out or scored 1 run 10 times this year already. I don't know if that was including yesterday, or so it's 11, or if 10's the right number. That is like the root right there of the problem. You getting shut 10 games where you have a total of less than 10 runs scored, that's bad.
Yeah, it's really like completely opposite from what we thought. And the biggest problem too is that everybody's slumping at once. JT's slumping, Schwarber's slumping, Castellanos is slumping, Hoskins is slumping, all at the same time. And you can manage a couple of those guys slumping at once, but not all of them.
Right.
Because the bottom of the lineup right now with Bryce hurt and Didi hurt is bad. And Moniak not here yet.
Well, I put that out there. That's just interesting. I had another question I was going to ask you, but I know you've had your pulse on the minor league system for a while with the Phillies. Mickey Moniak. Everybody knows that's been following me for a long time knows I've always been a Mickey Moniak fan. I never gave up on him. I just said, look, he was there's a lot of pressure on a 20-year-old kid a few years ago, and he just wasn't ready. But now, because of the fact that we've Odubel Herrera, Roman Quinn hitting $120 when he's out there, nobody else, Matt Vierling, as I said, wasn't going to be anything special. There is a lot of pressure now on Mickey Moniak to come back from this injury and instantly be as good as he was in spring training. And I actually feel bad for Mickey Moniak because now, if they do not make a move for a center fielder, he needs to be a 260, 270, hitter and instantly, help uplift this offense. And that's a lot of what's Mickey Moniak, 23 now, 22?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for a young kid that's never had extended success in the bigs yet. Man, I feel bad for Mickey Moniak right now.
I do, and it's a shame too because like you look throughout his whole minor league career, he's been okay, but like he broke out in spring training. That's the best he's ever played as a professional. And the fact he had that injury, like it worries me that, is he going to try to be that guy to hit 30 home runs right out of the stretch? Or is he just going to try to put solid contact on the ball? That's where they waver is the Phillies are trying to hit home runs every single bat instead of just getting on base and getting base hits to get the guy behind you to hit you home. And it's a whole approach thing that the Phillies have been with for multiple years now where they're trying to hit the ball 800 feet instead of moving a runner 90 feet and scoring a couple runs in an inning.
Look, so, the question I was going to ask before you brought up Mickey Moniak there, I brought it up yesterday on the show. I actually brought it up twice this week on the show, once when I went solo, once with Jason. Now I'll bring it up again with you. Phillies got, like we just said, one of the most inconsistent teams there is, offensively. They're streaky hitters. They've got literally 10 guys that do the exact same thing. Is it time? I mean, if they're not going to fire Joe Girardi, which Joe Girardi's the root of all problems, just like you said. I agree with that a lot. But is it time that we have to start thinking about some tough decisions with the Phillies? You can't trade Bryce Harper, not yet at least. Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber just signed their deals. I don't even think they're allowed to trade them yet. But you got a lot of money being spent on players that are underperforming. Is it sometimes the thought process taking one step back and making some tough calls the way to go so that maybe next year or in the future you can start building towards taking 2 steps forward? And I bring it up because I can add some names to it. Yesterday I said just JT Realmuto. But JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, they're some of your valuable pieces right there that are making big money. JT Realmuto is making $26 million a year. Can you win paying a catcher that's hitting 230, $26 million a year? You can find another catcher to do that for $10 million. And then you've got $50 more million to go get another pitcher or two, maybe a center fielder. Is it time? And I'm not saying you specifically have to trade one of those guys. Is it time for Dave Dombrowski to say, I might have to make an unpopular decision here to move this team forward?
I think there does need to be a major shakeup, whether that's only at manager or they got to get some of this crap that's been out there for the last few years that hasn't worked. The guys like Odubel Herrera, the guys like Roman Quinn, like these type of guys who are terrible. Hoskins has been here for forever and really hasn't caught a groove yet. They need to make a shakeup here and light a fire under the asses of some of these guys to get them going. So if they don't get going, you're out of here. Like it's bad the way they just keep these guys and they seem to hold on to guys forever that shouldn't be here anymore.
I mean, I'm looking at. I mean, Reese Hoskins makes almost $8 million. Aaron Nola 15.5. JT makes 24. I thought it was 26. Sorry, $24 million. That's a lot of money going out to guys that you're not. Like I said, you're not going to trade Nick Castellanos yet. You got to maybe move something. You can't just trade. People always say like they play armchair GM and just trade this guy or this guy. You got to trade. Teams aren't just going to take your junk. They want things with value. So maybe you can't trade, Didi Gregorius and expect to get a massive return, or Gene Segura and get a massive return. So maybe JT Realmuto is the guy that you move.
I honestly
for it.
I don't know how much is JT worth. Like, he's a declining catcher with a huge contract. I was concerned when they signed him in the first place. I'm like, that's a lot of money for a catcher who is getting up there in age.
We talked about it with the wide receivers when Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill were getting those massive contracts. Can you win committing that much money to a wide receiver? It's kind of the same thing. Can you win committing $25 million to a catcher?
I mean, they can, because there's not like this. It's not like there's a salary cap in baseball. Like, yeah, there's the luxury tax, but it's more the fact that
when you signed JT, you weren't willing to go over the luxury tax yet. So if you're a team that's not willing to go over the luxury tax, I consider it a salary cap to an extent. So when you signed him to that deal, you weren't willing to go over it yet. So you committed $25 million at the time. I think it was like 210, $25 million of 210 towards a catcher. That's then you get trapped with these mediocre relief pitchers or cheap dollar store, guys that you got to sign that no one else wants to these cheap deals. And that's the problem. I'm looking at like some of these. Well, yeah, some of these guys actually make a little bit more money than I thought in their bullpen. Brad Hand, Familia.
Oh yeah, they shelled out some contracts, and the bullpen
I'm looking at their. I thought these guys were making like Norwood's making $706,000, but I didn't realize they were paying Familia $6 million.
Yeah, he needs to be caught. He needs to DFA'd. Like,
I cannot believe he get paid that much money right now. But anyway.
But
there's a lot of money.
It really hasn't been that bad.
It hasn't. Actually, it's like 10th or 11th in the NL, which is not good. It's not as good as you think. But whatchamacallit. So it comes down to like, what kind of tough decisions are you willing to make then for this team? Because I'm willing to fire the coach. I'm willing to trade JT Realmuto. Hell, I even said it yesterday. Jason convinced me to switch it to Aaron Nola. I would consider trading Zach Wheeler while he's at his peak. You're not going to win.
Trade Zach Wheeler.
Let me explain it. Are you winning a World Series this year?
No, but the trajectory you're on, you can't just blow it up now. You spent way too much money this offseason. You can't blow it up.
Take one step back. You take one step back to take two steps forward. Train Zach Wheeler.
Who are you going to get to replace Zach Wheeler is the problem. You're not going to be able to find a pitcher like him.
At this point, I mean,
Nola, I agree with.
Is looking pretty good in AAA. So you call him up for the short term to see if he's got it. You got Nola. You
major league pitcher.
I know. I'm making suggestions here. I'm just looking at what you could get in return, prospect wise, probably for Zach Wheeler right now. Look, I had this conversation last year on shows with the Eagles before the Eagles offseason started last year. I said trade Brandon Graham, trade Fletcher Cox, and trade Miles Sanders. Everyone said I was stupid for suggesting that. Fletcher Cox had an awfully down year, and his value went down, and we got stuck in a really bad situation. If we maybe trade him last year, maybe things turn out differently. Brandon Graham ended up going down pretty early with an awful injury. Who knows if he's ever going to be the same again? And Miles Sanders, everybody's ready to get rid of Miles Sanders now.
Oh, he sucks. I wouldn't get rid of him when they drafted him.
Sometimes you've got to get rid of players at their peak before they start the downside. And if you're not going to win a World Series, do you need what's he make? Let me pull up his salary here. Do you need a pitcher?
He's actually not bad. I think he's
$26 million
for
second highest player on the team, and he's 32 years old. Arms fall off these guys really quick. He's had arm issues in the past. Hell, he was tired to come into camp this year. I'm just giving you a reason why you might be able to get a team's number one prospect for Zach Wheeler right now. You might be able to go get a 22-year-old that is almost ready to be a star in the majors, potentially, for Zach Wheeler right now. I'm not saying I like the idea. And Jason yesterday convinced me to move down and just say trade Aaron Nola instead of Zach Wheeler. But Aaron Nola's 28. Zach Wheeler's 32. There's a 4-year age difference there. So,
Yeah, but Aaron Nola sucks.
I mean, I wouldn't say sucks.
But my one challenge to that,
I'm harsh on, but not that harsh.
How many times do those trades for prospects actually wind up working out?
Very rarely. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Prospects. Guaranteed.
Yeah. That's the only thing, like,
that 08
yeah,
rate,
in theory.
08 team, all those guys we traded in 08, 9, 10, 11, the Lou Marsons, the Michael Taylor, who else was who was the second baseman?
Carrasco's like the only one who wound up being anything.
Carrasco didn't work out at first, but Carrasco, I love Carlos Carrasco. I hate that he's a Met right now because he's one of my favorite Phillies. Former,
I saw him throw a no-hitter in Reading. I was like,
I mean, he struggled with the Phillies, ended up having cancer, beating that, coming back, and I don't know if he won a Cy Young, but he was damn close to winning a Cy Young one year.
He was really good.
Yeah, it was with the Indians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one guy worked out of literally we traded between 08 and 2012. We probably traded.
And even the trades where we traded Hamels and Cliff Lee, we didn't get anything back in those either.
Yeah, I mean, look at the trade when we traded Brad Litt. No, not Brad Litt. Who did we? Ken Giles. We got Vince Velasquez was the big prize in that one, and that one really worked out for us, right?
Yeah, that was great.
You trade Zach Wheeler. Is Vince Velasquez available? Maybe you could bring him back.
Oh no, Nick Pavetta's winding up being a good pitcher after he leaves.
I think Pavetta's pitching pretty well, I hear.
Yeah, he had a complete game the other night.
I don't even know if Vince Velasquez signed with anybody yet.
He's a White Sox, I believe.
Yeah, White Sox. I did not know that. I know he was available late in the offseason there. All right, so what are we going to do here? What are the Phillies going to do to turn this corner here? When is it literally, as the question says, is it as simple as Bryce Harper coming back into this lineup makes things different?
It's not.
No, I agree.
I really think it starts with the manager. And your other problem is you've got nothing in the high minor leagues right now. It's like all your big time prospects are in low A and a high A. So it's not like you just call up this big time prospect. Like no, Abel and Painter, your best pitching prospects, one's in high A and one's in low A. So you have like nothing pitching wise, and then your next best prospect besides that is probably O'Hoppe in Double A, who's still a couple years away. And with JT in the majors, he's never coming.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if you don't move JT, which they're not good. Look, I suggested it just because it's a thought, it's a theory to take that step back, but they're not going to move JT. But that means that O'Hoppe, he's going to be if we're trying to make a trade for somebody's, star or expiring contract or whatever, O'Hoppe's going to be a name that teams want because he's playing that well.
Yeah, him or Marshawn.
Yeah, they're going to be trade candidates or trade names that are brought up throughout this season for sure.
The problem is they got nothing besides that. Like, you have 3 big-time guys, and the rest are nobodies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, then that's where you potentially move some of the other guys, like the DDs. Like, you take the mid-level prospect with a DD or a mid-level prospect with a Segura. That might make, something work, which I don't know why I just mentioned.
I wouldn't trade Segura. I think Segura is fine.
Segura is a perfectly good, capable baseball player in his position.
Yeah.
What's it going to take for Joe Girardi to get fired? Because we both agree. I thought he was going to be fired by now. But then us winning
I guess they're waiting until the end of the season. I don't know.
I don't
That's
know
too late.
Yeah. You're wasting the entire season. You're 7 games out now. You're about to start 3 more games with the Dodgers, who you just beat 3 times. But I can't see us beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're not winning that series.
Yeah, exactly.
They're coming in here with vengeance.
Yeah, absolutely. They've actually won since the game. So the game they beat us, the end of the series, that little 9th inning comeback, they've now won 5 in a row. The Dodgers, because that's what good teams do. They lose a few games and they right the ship and make up those games right away. So you lose 3, and then you come back and you win 5 in a row. Everybody forgets about those. So I mean, the series, 3 against the Dodgers, then you got 4 against the Braves in Atlanta, then you got 3 more against the Mets, then you got 3 against San Francisco, then you got 3 against the Angels, then you get 3 against the Brewers. We don't go, and honestly, the Diamondbacks aren't that bad this year. But really, the Diamondbacks on June 10th are the next time we're facing a team maybe on our same playing field as us.
Yeah.
How's Joe Girardi going to survive that stretch? I mean, that's 3, 6, 9, 10, 13. That's like 20, 22 games there against playoff caliber teams. We legitly may be 10 games out by the end of the month. And if Joe Girardi,
I think that may be when he makes a move. When they're officially 10 games back, they may make the move. But I don't know.
That's a problem.
This organization, a lot of the inner workings is built around Joe Girardi, which that's like they brought in a lot of guys from the Yankees that were with Joe Girardi. So then how are they going to feel if Girardi gets fired? What's going to happen with them? Are they going to have to rebuild the whole organization that they just rebuilt 2 years ago? I think they probably have to, but it's not easy to do.
Yep, I agree. Look, I don't think Joe Girardi ever had any intentions or desires to come back to coaching. He was content working for MLB Network or whoever he was working for, calling baseball games. He was happy in that. The Phillies offered him a bag of money, and he's like, okay. And you could just tell it. I talk about it in all sports. You take on the personality of who's leading your team. Look at the Eagles team last year. They took on that personality of Nick Sirianni. You know, the Sixers, they took on the personality of Doc Rivers. And that's why they're not playing right now. Joe Girardi, you talked about it. Your first thing was how lifeless this team is and how unenergetic this team is. That's Joe Girardi. Literally. And it's funny because last week, I had a guest, Isaiah Hansen, on my show to talk basketball and a little bit of baseball. And he's a New Yorker. And he's a Yankees fan and a Knicks fan. And he said it, that he doesn't know why Joe Girardi looks like this, because when he was a Yankees coach, he was a fiery, get in your face type guy. And he's like, and he's the one that kind of pushed towards that thought process I've had. He never wanted to coach again, but $8 million a year is $8 million a year. It's more than he made multiple years in his playing career. So, Joe Girardi took the bag and never really wanted the job. So I don't know. I think they need to make that move sooner rather than later. Otherwise, this year and maybe even next year is going to be a complete wash, because if you keep Joe Girardi and you make moves to try to get over the hump this year and realistically don't have a chance, you're setting the team next year back even further.
Yeah. And it's almost like the Doc Rivers situation too. I actually compared them really, like, they're very similar. One won a championship 10 years ago. The other one won it 12 years ago. Like, they're very similar. They know how to choke leads. One's just a baseball coach, and the other's a basketball coach, and they both suck.
Yeah. they do. And both of them are here for the long term, it seems. I don't even know. But anyway, we kind of compared, we transitioned with Nick Sirianni's name there for a second. So I want to move over to the Eagles for a little bit here with Nick Sirianni. So we've been spending a lot of offseason since the draft, since the free agency began, everything. We keep talking about how Jalen Hurts has to take steps forward this year to prove himself, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of pressure on him now that A.J. Brown's here to this is it. Are you going to get the big contract extension or not? Are you going to earn it or not? What is Jalen Hurts? But I think that conversation is taking away from the fact that there's a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni as well this year. Nick Sirianni talked the talk last year.
Yeah.
Squeaked by, got to 9 wins, just squeaked into that last playoff spot. This year, Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown, sure. But Nick Sirianni got A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, James Bradbury. Maybe they'll be getting a safety today or tomorrow. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors floating around about a Cincinnati safety might be available.
Yeah.
There's got to be some talk that it's not all the success this year is not on Jalen Hurts pressure-wise. There's got to be a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni to back up what he did last year and the talk of last year and come out this year and have this team ready to go.
I actually put more pressure on the defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon.
I was going to bring that up as well because I have a lot of pressure on him as well.
I think this is his last year as an Eagles coach. He either does really well and is a head coach somewhere else, or he flounders and he's fired. I think the success of the Eagles this year is going to rely on the defense more than the offense. Even though they do have a very good offense, I just think that they're going to get carried by that defense as long as they're aggressive and don't play the corners 15 yards back every play. They have so much talent on that defense through the line. Even like your biggest weakness right now is safety, and Marcus Epps is fine, and Anthony Harris is fine. I think you're fine back there at safety. Would I like Bates from Cincinnati? Absolutely. But I don't think there's a real issue with safety right now, like people think.
But that puts a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni. But also, like you said, Jonathan Gannon. Look, Jonathan Gannon, everybody was hard. Me rightfully so. I was hard on him throughout the season last year as well. But then after the season, when I really thought about it, with what he did, all the interviews he got showed that this league respects his ideals and his philosophy.
Yeah.
And now he's got the talent on the defense. There's no excuse of no talent. Now, whether the talent stays healthy, whether Brandon Graham is healthy, we don't even know what's going on with Josh Sweat yet. Has the Eagles officially announced Josh Sweat's health issues that held him out at the end of the play? I mean, I know there's talk that he was in the hospital and was like near death, and there's really no talk about it, like if he's okay or not. But there's a lot of question marks there, but there's a lot of talent on that defense now. So there is pressure. So let's see. No pressure on Sirianni if there is no real faith in Hurts in the building. It comes down to if Laurie and Howie really believe in the quarterback. If they don't, how can they blame the coach?
Well, the coach can make a decision to put Minshew in if he really wants to. If he's that bad, you put in Minshew.
But does he?
I don't think he's that bad.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the coach. I mean, we have heard rumors in the past that Howie kind of tells the coach who to play and who not to play. I mean, that was a big crux of the problem we had heard with him and Doug Peterson. That Doug Peterson didn't have to say. So maybe Nick Sirianni doesn't have,
I don't believe that anybody would take a job as a coach if you don't have say. But especially over a guy like Howie Roseman, who isn't really a football guy.
I tried to digest what George said. So no pressure on Sirianni if there's no real faith in Hurts. So is it Hurts' progression partially on Nick Sirianni? Yes, in the offseason, the quarterbacks, football players have to do a lot of work on their own because of the rules and the union agreements and stuff like that. But some of the growth has to come from the coaches too, the teaching aspect of it. So teaching him to get past his first read, etc. Doesn't some of that fall on the coaching staff? Whether it's Nick Sirianni, whether it's what's his name, Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach. Doesn't some of that have to go on them if he doesn't take that next step forward? So if he isn't good enough, and Laurie and Howie don't believe in Hurts, I get that. But what I'm saying, I think they should blame the coach if he's not good enough, if he doesn't take a step forward. You can only teach someone so much. Exactly, I agree. I get.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So George doesn't think there's that much pressure on Sirianni. So, I mean, you talked about Gannon, but what about Sirianni? Do you feel that if all of a sudden this team comes out and Jalen Hurts isn't that good, isn't the guy, we come out and finish 8-9 this year or 7-10, is it just simply it was Jalen Hurts' fault, or is there question marks on this coaching staff?
I think Sirianni's job is pretty safe, unless they do go like 6-11 or whatever it is now.
Oh yeah,
I don't see.
I'm not saying Nick Sirianni would get fired, but at least if they fail this year, maybe he'll get put on the hot seat, so to speak.
I do think it does have a lot to do with Hurts. If Hurts looks bad, I think Hurts is going to get most of the blame. Not that that's really fair to him, but to a certain point, like he's got to put up or shut up at this point for Hurts. You have elite weapons now. It's time. But it also depends on how Sirianni uses him. If Sirianni keeps trying to throw deep with him all the time, when it's obvious he can't throw deep, then to me that's on Sirianni a lot of times too.
Yeah, I don't know. I look at it as last year we got to the playoffs by Nick Sirianni making
Yeah.
adjustments. That Jalen Hurts couldn't do certain things and going to a run heavy offense. You know, him making the adjustments. He made the right adjustments last year. This year, will he? He's going to come out and want to go pass happy again. And if he can't, will he make the right adjustments? And I don't know. I still think there needs to be a significant amount of pressure on the coaches to perform with these guys, Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon equally. I really do. I look. We all want to say that it's all on Hurts, but if Hurts isn't the guy, like some people think, then that's on the coaches for not getting them ready or putting them in a position to fail. If Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, then like you said, you got to put your Gardner Minshew in there or whatever you have to do. I don't know. I think there's a lot more pressure on the coaches that's being given credit for.
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's always pressure on the coaches, but I don't think it's as much on Sirianni as it is on Gannon and on Hurts. I think those are the two guys that have more pressure than anyone. And I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think they're going to be fine. I think they easily win 10 games.
Yeah, I don't know about this bottom part. We were finding it hard to bring big names in here. Is he the reason? I don't think we're having trouble bringing in big names. Hassan Reddick signed here. A.J. Brown was willing to get traded here and sign a huge extension here.
James Bradbury signed here.
Bradbury signed here. He had 11 teams interested in him. And rumors, again, rumors are rumors. There's no proof to it, but rumors are he had higher offers to go elsewhere. So there are some players that are now starting to see, and willing to come here. Yeah. I agree with that. You do play. Yeah, exactly. Plus Gardner Minshew.
Well, isn't his contract up at the end of the year, though?
Who, Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
No, Jalen Hurts. I don't know if his contract is up, but he's eligible for the extension, which very rarely do rookie quarterbacks on their rookie deal that are starting. They don't play the last year of their deal. They sign a big extension, like they renegotiate and whatnot. So
why would we want Wilson or Watson?
We didn't want because you're always looking for the elite quarterback. That's what you're looking for. Allen Robinson, not one. Yeah, one more year Hurts. Yeah, he is in year 3. Yeah, he's in year 3. So we have him next year. But again, if he plays like he did last year, you bring in somebody else and have him as a backup.
Yeah.
If he's better, you got to consider signing him to an extension. And if he plays worse, then I don't know. You find a trade partner. I don't know what you do.
I don't know if he's tradable at that point. Like if he plays bad this year, I don't know if he's even tradable at that point. Like I don't know who is going to want him at that point. I'm sure there'll be some, like maybe they'll give you a 5th or 6th round pick for him. Mm-hmm. But if he plays bad this year, I don't know what he's worth at that point.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I'll like me and George, we disagree on it all. I think, I hope, I have faith, I guess, which is maybe blind homer loyalty, that we're going to see a better Jalen Hurts this year.
Yeah, and I've been down on Jalen Hurts for pretty much his whole career. I feel pretty positive that he will be better than he was last year, at least.
Yeah, I mean,
be good enough to win a playoff game.
You bet a little bit, you gamble a little bit, just like me, and I brought it up yesterday. The tickets going in on Jalen Hurts to win the MVP, and not just the casual fans like me and you betting $5 or $10. We're talking the big money tickets. The professional gamblers that gamble thousands of dollars per ticket are putting tickets in on Jalen Hurts to win MVP, and they don't just throw those bets out there blindly. No. He's gone from 60 to 40 to 18 to 1 in the last month and a half to win MVP. Some of it's on Jalen Hurts, some of it's on A.J. Brown, some of it's on, everything put together, just the amount of money going in on them. But professionals aren't wagering a couple $1,000s on Jalen Hurts to win MVP just blindly. They're looking at the data and they're thinking he could do it. And if Jalen Hurts is even a top 10 MVP candidate next year, that's a big step forward. If he's the 10th best, I don't know if he could be that good. But
if he's a top 10 MVP candidate, we may be talking about a Super Bowl.
Absolutely. That's being a little overreacting, but It's not.
Honestly, that's not overreacting. They're that close that with how good their defense is, if they have a top 10 player in the league at quarterback, they may win it.
I talked about it yesterday. I mean, the NFC is wide open.
Yeah.
There's the Bucks. How much longer can Brady really perform at that level? And you got the Rams. You got question marks on every other team. Green Bay, even. Who's their wide receiver going to be? How's Aaron Rodgers going to handle the loss of Devontae Adams? Arizona, DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Who knows when they'll be playing? Who's really going to stop us?
Yeah. Well, you go position by position.
We'll stop ourselves. Jalen Hurts will stop us. Nick Sirianni will stop us.
You go position by position. No, I don't do this every year.
I
am very negative about the Eagles very often. You go position by position. They have one of the best running back by committees in football. They had, top 5 rushing attack last year, maybe even 1 in yards. Offensive line is one of the best in football every year. Wide receivers now, you have 2 wide receiver 1s opposite each other, and Quez Watkins, who's very good, and Pascal, who's fine. And then you go with the defense. You have one of the best defensive lines in football. The linebackers are far improved. You have one of the best corner trios in football. Safeties are okay, but you look at this team, they have depth at every position, and they are very deep. They're very good. For me, it really does rely on the quarterback. If Jalen Hurts is a top 10 type quarterback, yes, there is a chance for a Super Bowl.
I honestly think that if he's even like 12 to 14 in that range, that we're going to make a push in the playoffs. We'll be a scary team. And look, and George knows this about me. George knows I like to get a little fan, a little over the top, a little excited. Especially, I mean, let's be honest. George, you're just all in on the Eagles. I'm all in on the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers. The Flyers were just god-awful, dreadful. The Sixers broke our hearts again. The Phillies are 38 games into a season that we know they're only going to be a 500 team at best. Dude, I got nothing to be positive and look forward to. I got to be happy about something. Yeah, maybe I'll set myself up for a heartbreak. And yes, by week 4, I'll be back to being realistic, Phil, taking back all my overreactions. But we got to have something to hold on to hope for, to be positive. I mean, I'm not going to be positive when I go fill my gas tank up later today. That's going to break my heart. My Jeep, I mean,
I don't want to talk about
it. It cost me $95 to fill my Jeep up later today.
I have a car with a 10-gallon tank, and it cost me $50 to fill up the other day.
Yes. There's got to be something to be positive about. I know. I'm jealous of Scotty, George. I will say that. I'm heartbroken that he's gotten to spend time with you and have a drink with you, and I have not. Breaks my heart that you chose Scotty for number 1 drink instead of me. I'm heartbroken. All right, so let's move on. Let's get past the Eagles. Let's talk the final topic of the day, and that's the Sixers. Because I'm just trying to run through all the teams with you here, Carter. Because we don't do. I don't get your smiley face early in the morning very often. So we talked Philly.
I don't like to wake up.
We talk Eagles, kind of depressing. Now we got to talk Sixers, really depressing. We could talk a lot of different things. You mentioned Doc Rivers, but the newest rumor of Matisse Thybulle being interested, or having interest, the Chicago Bulls have in him. And, we talked about it earlier this week. There's literally every single day there's going to be a new single Sixers rumor. Literally the entire offseason, till the draft, till free agency, every day there'll be a new rumor. Today's rumor is Matisse Thybulle to the Bulls. First off, I think there's little doubt that Matisse Thybulle to any team, nobody is going to hold on and be like, I don't want to trade Matisse Thybulle at this point. He is 100% tradable at this point, right?
Yeah. I would have gotten rid of. They should have traded him at the deadline last year, when his value was at its peak.
Last year,
I knew he wasn't anything.
I guarantee you that if the vaccination thing wasn't an issue in Brooklyn, that he would have been in that Ben Simmons deal and not Seth.
Yeah, see, that's something we didn't know. We didn't know he wasn't vaccinated at that point.
Exactly. And then and at that point, at the trade deadline, there was no firm date when Brooklyn was going to lift their mask mandate, and obviously it would have worked out. Maybe they would have had him for the playoffs, but I firmly believe Matisse would have been in that deal. Either Seth Curry or Drummond, one of them. I don't know who would have come out. Probably Seth Curry, but I firmly believe that. But first off, has anybody fallen from grace in Sixers fandom as much as Matisse? I mean, he was the cute, smiling dimples. Everybody loved him, hoping for him to take that next step. And then all of a sudden, this whole Vax thing comes out. And now he's one of the most hated guys in Philadelphia sports.
I hated him before all that. Like I was always down on Matisse Thybulle, but I don't know. I just always saw Robert Covington in him, and I hated Robert Covington. And he's not even as good as Robert Covington.
He's not. He does not have close to the shot Robert Covington has.
No. Robert Covington pissed me off.
I was a huge Rocco guy back in the day. I liked Rocco. He was.
You seem like a Rocco guy.
Yeah, I was a Rocco. The only thing that I didn't like was that Tobias kind of worked on it this year a little bit, but kind of like Tobias, he was way too easily blocked when he would go to the rim. Instead of going up hard for a dunk, he would go up for like a layup and get blocked every time. Outside of that,
the missed layups just pissed me off with him.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the missed layups. That's one of my least favorite things in basketball. So the question is, though, so the Bulls are interested in Matisse Thybulle. Do you trade Matisse for, like, I know a lot of people say Kobe White. That'll be what everybody says. Matisse for Kobe White. That's just what they're going to say. Is that what you would do with Matisse? Or would you be holding on to Matisse until you make the big move? Whether it's go get Bradley Beal, whether it's Donovan Mitchell, whether it's anybody. Do you hold him and hope that he's a part of a package for a big guy because he is a valuable asset? Or you just, the first best offer you get for the guy, you take it because you might not get anything better. But then you lose that valuable trade asset right there. I think I think you kind of have to make sure he's got to be the last thing you move, in my opinion, or save for that.
I don't know. I'm in a different thinking than some people with this offseason. I don't want them to go out and get that big name guy.
Oh,
I think they need more depth. Like, you look at the teams left right now, the reason they're so good is because they have so much depth. We don't have any depth. After Tobias, your fourth best player, nothing. It's all garbage. And I'd rather trade Matisse for a decent guy who can come off the bench if you can. And trade Tobias for maybe 2 or 3 good bench pieces. And then you have a much deeper bench where you're not, like, falling apart at the end of games because you're so gassed.
I talked about it when was Game 7 of when the Mavs won over Phoenix. Spencer Dinwiddie came off the bench and knocked down 30 or 31 points in that game. We know nobody on our bench knocked down 15 points, 10 points,
no,
let alone 30. No. And yes, Kristaps Porzingis was like what he was traded for. Let's be honest, Kristaps Porzingis isn't the 4th overall pick Kristaps Porzingis anymore. And they actually traded Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie to make the salary trade. You could have easily gotten a Spencer Dinwiddie in here this offseason or this trade deadline. And we still might be playing. Now, I don't know how they would have made a deal work with Spencer Dinwiddie. You might have had to move Matisse and, I don't know, Danny Green or Matisse and I don't know.
The whole Ben Simmons thing just completely messed them up with that. They need to get Simmons out of the locker room.
And you know it. You know who I'm going to say. I'm going to blame Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey has spent his entire career trying to acquire James Harden everywhere he goes. And everywhere he goes, his teams suffer the same issue, that they don't have any other depth because he spends all his time accommodating James Harden. So if Daryl Morey's staying here, you better believe James Harden is staying here. And
well, did you see the posts that his daughter made on Instagram yesterday?
She was on the phone while she was taking pictures. Graduation.
Did you see her gown?
No, I didn't see the gown.
It had the beard on the gown.
I didn't notice the beard on the gown.
He's staying. He's getting that max extension.
Yeah, well, and it's gonna ruin the Sixers. The franchise will set. It's gonna be worse than the Andrew Bynum situation. It's gonna set us back for years. Now,
well, he'll at least play unlike Bynum.
What's that?
He'll at least play unlike Bynum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you never know. He's not gonna play that much. The problem is, you keep Harden, you keep Embiid, obviously, you keep Doc Rivers. And if you want to go star hunting, like That's his move. That is Daryl Morey's move. Star hunting. Goes out and gets Bradley Beal. People are going to talk about Bradley Beal and maybe Donovan Mitchell all offseason. That they're going to be the two targets. There is nobody in their right mind would make those deals with the Sixers unless they give up Tyrese Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be Tobias Harris for Donovan Mitchell. It's not going to be Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal. There's literally zero chance. We don't even have that many draft picks left that we could trade in the next 5 or 10 years.
Nope.
It's going to be Tyrese Maxey. Are you willing to commit the next 3 years to a Harden Beal, Harden Donovan Mitchell backcourt and lose your 21-year-old Maxey? I am not. I am not at all. I'm trading James Harden and Matisse Thybulle and whoever else I have to get Donovan Mitchell in here or Bradley Beal. But I am not moving Maxey. Problem is, Daryl Morey is going to try to make these moves. Daryl Morey is going to say, you got to give something to get something. What will the pulse of Sixers fan base be when on July 29th, breaking news, Tyrese Maxey traded to Utah for Donovan Mitchell?
I don't think Donovan Mitchell is even better than Maxey.
He's the one guy I would slightly consider, depending on the whole package, just because he's younger and he can play off the ball next to Harden, just like Tyrese Maxey does. But I don't know. I would just slightly consider it just because of the age aspect of it. But come on now, the Sixers fans will revolt if that's what happens.
You got Maxey on a minimum deal right now.
2 more years.
He's one of the keep him. If you want to trade him, if you don't think he's going to re-sign or you don't think you have the money to re-sign him, then you trade him next year. But you need to see where this kid can go because the sky's the limit for him.
You always have the money to re-sign your own players.
Yeah.
Always. Because the salary cap in
good.
basketball is fake when it comes to keep.
That's
it
true.
is literally set up to keep your own players. You can. I mean, there's a luxury tax just like in baseball, but you are allowed to go over the cap as much as you want to keep your own players.
Yeah.
So and the Sixers ownership we've been over the cap for years now. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the James Harden and the other star situation, and the fact that we might lose. Let's be honest. 21-year-old Tyrese Maxey, in 3 years, 4 years, this guy's going to be potentially one of the best basketball players in the game. And you're going to move him now to pair Bradley Beal with James Harden. Who even said James Harden and Bradley Beal will work well together?
They won't.
They won't. So
I don't think Harden with anybody right now is going to work well.
Like
the way Harden just refuses to shoot in the second half, I don't know.
If I'm Joel Embiid, and I've said it 100 times, if I'm Joel Embiid, I am in Josh Harris's office every single morning right now during the offseason. Not Daryl Morey, Josh Harris. I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, man, this is what needs to happen. He's got to make sure his imprint is put on this offseason. Because otherwise, if you're going to just keep doing this, his career is going to be wasted. And he wants that title. He's going to be, I've said it about Bryce Harper before. I'll say it about Joel Embiid. If things continue at this trajectory, by next season, if we go all in, give James Harden a max deal or close to a max deal, trade Maxey for Bradley Beal, and it's not going well, and Doc Rivers is still here, Joel Embiid's going to be like, yo, get me out of here. Send me to Miami to play with my boy Jimmy Butler.
And I wouldn't blame him at that point because, I
wouldn't blame him either.
They've chosen other people's sides every single time.
Brett Brown.
They never get the guy Joel Embiid wants.
I mean, if you can't listen to what Jimmy Butler said at the end of the Sixers series and not feel bad for Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler and the Sixers organization, I mean, they wanted to be here together.
Yes.
They have to be here together, and they chose the wrong side. And look, hindsight's 2020. Maybe the Phillies or the Sixers kind of felt like they were making the right decision, younger, Ben Simmons, higher ceiling, maybe Ben Simmons if he worked it all out. I don't know. Brett Brown. I mean, are the Sixers any better with Doc Rivers and Brett Brown? Probably not anyway. But still, they've made wrong decision after wrong decision, and you're wasting Joel Embiid's career. He's not going to play till he's 38 years old, 35 years old. He's not going to be an MVP caliber player for more than 2 more seasons, probably. So that my fear is that Daryl Morey. I mean, if Daryl Morey trains Maxey and this all falls apart, what do you got left?
Well,
You got
and
James Harden.
what happens? We're 30 games through the season next year, and they don't look any better. Do you deal Embiid at that point?
At the next year, in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
God, I'm telling you, if this is the this is kind of getting depressing. If they trade Maxey for whatever star, they give a big deal to Harden, and they keep Doc Rivers, and then the season's falling apart, and instead of firing Doc Rivers or realizing your mistakes, you get rid of Joel Embiid. Man, the city will revolt.
Oh yeah.
The city will revolt.
I'm not saying it's the right move, but at what point does Embiid say, I'm done?
I'm surprised he hasn't said it yet. And
Yeah.
that's my question with Joel Embiid is, why hasn't he tried to take you see stars, everybody gives LeBron James a hard time because he's really the GM of his team always. He's really the coach of his team always. But you know what? He's earned that right to an extent. And that's what we kind of want Joel Embiid to be like. But everyone gives LeBron James, a hard time for that. Everyone says it's great that Bryce Harper goes to management and says, I want JT Realmuto. I want Nick Castellanos. I want. And they go out and they listen to their star player. Why doesn't Joel Embiid act like Joel Embiid seems to be a massive personality. You would think he'd have the confidence himself to make demands like that.
Maybe he does. Maybe they just don't listen.
Well, then why would he be so interested in staying here then? Because it's not like we've heard rumblings of him wanting out of town. It's not like he said, "Yo, I want out of here."
I guess he's just different and got a loyalty to Philadelphia. I don't know why you would, but
it's insane. It's kind of crazy to think that. I just look. I just don't. I don't see. I just can't see a good ending to this offseason for the Sixers. Everything I look at, you can't present something to me, and I say, well, that worked out pretty well. So you can't present something to me that realistically could happen. I guess is the way I should say it. Like,
yeah, Harden
James
will be back.
Yeah.
Whether he's opting into that $47 million contract or they sign him long term. I think our better option is him just opting in. But
I disagree. I think the best option is to convince him to take a 3-year, $89 million deal.
3 year. The problem is though, like he looked washed at the end of this year.
Right. But
what happens when he looks washed at the end of next year too? And then you have him for 2 more years. You're not going to be able to deal with that point.
But $30 million in NBA contract terms, where the max deals are $50 to $60 million. $30 million is pretty much a discount, honestly. It's what you're forced. You're going to see guys making, guys that are nowhere near even Harden at this point making more than $30 million.
Yeah,
$30 million is a respectable average deal nowadays in the NBA.
I don't know. I'm just having Al Horford flashbacks if they do that. Like how Al Horford just looked like complete garbage here, and
they were able to get rid of Al Horford.
His contract.
Yeah, they were able to get rid of him.
Yeah,
they
were.
Thinking, if you could
for Danny Green.
Yeah. Hey, Danny Green. Hey,
that was actually a decent trade. That worked out well.
Hey, we win against Atlanta last year. If Danny Green's still there, who knows? Maybe we win Game 7 if Danny Green doesn't blow out his knee.
No.
Danny Green said yesterday or 2 days ago that he plans on coming back. Plans on being back by the All-Star break next year. So we'll see. He'll be.
So they're gonna pay him $12 million too next year. Just
hey, I'm
a Danny. Instead of bringing in a real bench player.
I'm a Danny Green guy. So just because
I like Danny Green, but the dude's coming off an ACL tear. You need actual bench pieces.
Well, you need a lot of bench pieces. You need multiple.
Yeah.
Jason loves to make fun of me because I always kept saying, you got to make an ancillary move. You got to make an ancillary move. Well, they made no ancillary moves. But honestly, they don't even have the option to make too many ancillary moves this year. They're going to, you got Furkan Korkmaz locked up for 2 more years under contract. There's $5 million. Shake will probably be back on a $2 million because he's got some kind of I forget whether it's a player or a club option, but at $2 million, they're not going to let him walk for $2 million.
He's fine.
So they're going to put last year on there. There's the start of your bench already. That's not good.
Great.
It's going to be the same. You literally had Furkan Korkmaz playing point guard for multiple possessions in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinal.
I swear, Doc Rivers ruined him playing him at point guard like that. He's not a point guard.
No, he's not.
Just because he has the skill set to be a point guard doesn't mean he's a point guard.
Furkan is – I love Furkan because Furkan plays with the confidence of Michael Jordan, but the skill set of Turkish Michael Jordan. Okay? he literally –
Hey, he won a dunk contest.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's the Turkish MJ. The dude thinks he is Michael Jordan. And I love the confidence that he oozes. But the dude is not MJ, obviously.
Yeah, but he either has the confidence that he's Michael Jordan and that's what he's really good, or he thinks he's or he just like has no confidence at all and just jacks up random threes that are contested.
I gotta watch what I say. My wife might be listening. She loves Furkan. She thinks he's cool. So
Oh, I have 3 Furkan jerseys.
She only ever eavesdrops on the shows when I make fun of the people that she likes. So it's the only time she ever listens. But yeah, I mean it's crazy. Philadelphia sports right now is in a really sticky situation right now. You got the Phillies on the cusp of just falling to complete apart with a lot of wasted money being spent. The Sixers are on the cusp of falling apart with a lot of money being spent in the wrong places. And then you got the Eagles who are kind of trending upwards, but they have one big question mark, their quarterback. If the quarterback's great, we might be in a Super Bowl in a year or two. If not, then we got to start all over again with a quarterback situation next year. So, which could totally change so much. So, like, Philadelphia sports are in a really sticky, scary time right now where it might all blow up really soon. And if that's the case, God help us, man. These shows are going to get really dreadful in the morning.
City of Champions, though, right? All right.
I guess. Didn't the Philadelphia Union even lose a game the other night?
They didn't lose, but they tied again. They haven't won a game in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I look. I don't follow the Union closely, but
they're still number 1 in the standings.
All right. Well, that's
crazy with soccer. I think they have like 2 wins on the whole year, but since they tie every time, they have a ton of points.
Are they still one of the worst offensive teams in the league? I disagree because I know last year they their vote by just they gave up the least amount of goals in the entire league last year, but also scored like second the least amount of goals in the league. I think
it doesn't seem like they've scored a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know a ton about soccer. I know everything I know because of El Parcero Philly, but they didn't score any goals last week. So
that's never good.
Hey,
look at that! We're throwing a little union, so we're 5 for 5. Look, the Flyers suck. There, I said something.
Yeah, Flyers suck. There, we said something. Sell the team.
Hold on. Wait. There it is. My Flyers banner. What's up with the Flyers? They suck. See, I just covered all 5 teams this morning, and literally, the Union are the only team.
How about the Wings too? There we go. 6 for 6.
I know less about lacrosse. The Wings are.
I don't know anything about it. I went to 1 game. They won.
I've never been to a game. I literally know nothing about it. Literally nothing. So no. I tried picking up a lacrosse stick once and throwing it, and I didn't know what I was doing. Nothing.
It went behind me when I tried to do it.
Yeah, I don't. It just wouldn't come out of the stick, and then when I looked, and I tried to catch it, I'd probably get hit in the face, so that probably wouldn't work. All right, we're gonna wrap the show up there for the day, everybody. It's been another great week here on Trending in the AM every Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Great conversation this week. Lots, like I said, it's a really crazy time in Philly sports. But let's hope the Phillies come out and do at least half decently this weekend against the Dodgers. Do they take 2 games this weekend against the Dodgers, Carter?
No.
Do they take
one? They might get swept.
They might get swept. If the Phillies get swept to the Dodgers this week, do they fire Joe Girardi Monday morning?
No.
Damn.
I want them to, but they won't.
I want them to, but they won't. Yeah, exactly. All right. So we'll be back next week. We'll talk Phillies. We'll talk more Sixers. We'll talk more Eagles as we start to inch closer to training camp. We're probably only like 6 weeks away from training camp now. 7 weeks.
We need to do some training camp coverage. We got to go down there.
Can we
get passes?
Well, we can't get credentials. We're not that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well,
I might. I got a ton of followers.
Yeah, we might be able to get credentials. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That would be pretty awesome if we did. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy it. PGA Championship is going on. That's where my focus will be this weekend, guys. Everybody have a great weekend, and yeah, I don't know, Carter. Go Birds. Go something.
Go Birds. Yeah, we'll
Go
go Birds.
Go Birds.